Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of the PPC Unfiltered podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Nadalin. Hello, Michael. How are you, sir?
I am good, mate. How are you?
Doing really good. We are post Thanksgiving, post Black Friday madness. It has been a blast getting those sales and last minute assets updated and all that fun stuff. So, how was your Black Friday, your Cyber Monday? Pretty successful for your ecom clients?
Yeah, it was. And the beautiful thing is not many of them ran hectic promotions. So a lot of it was still business as usual. So I will be the
Very
outlier,
nice.
but for me, there wasn't much chaos. Actually, there wasn't any chaos. So
Awesome.
yeah. What about you, mate? How did
Wow.
yours go with your clients?
I'm gonna give a humble brag, not so
Yes.
humble brag. One of my biggest clients, and it's a big spender. We increased. Now they have been doing Google Ads for 6 years. I want to say I've been working with them for a little over a year now. So I was the one doing Black Friday, Cyber Monday last year, and I had just taken over the account maybe over a few months, and we saw a 90% increase in new customer revenue,
Oh,
guys. And we were also more profitable than the year before. So, we were super happy. We are like inventory shortage problems now. So we've moved on to a new problem. Very happy. And we've got new products coming. So we're very excited about it.
awesome, man. Congratulations on
Yeah,
that. That's
very,
a
very
huge
good.
win, especially I know we've spoken about that in previous calls, just about having benchmark data and year on year data. Knowing that you managed it for over a year, you can
Yeah.
actually see the impact year on year. Obviously, there's external factors, but for Google Ads year on year, you're the one running it, you're leading the strategy, you're dealing with all
Yep.
the chaos of last minute asset changes. You deserve
Yeah.
all the praise. So good on you, mate. You deserve it.
It takes a village. It takes a village, you know. But yeah, it was a really good holiday season for most of my clients. Rare exceptions, but again, external factors for the most part. So
Awesome.
awesome. So for today's episode, we were talking before we started recording, and we were thinking, you know what? This time of year, a lot of businesses consider moving around to another agency. Has that been your experience this time of year?
I'll just say yes in the positive way.
Okay, you
So
don't
yeah.
believe it.
No, no, no,
Okay,
no,
oh,
no, no.
okay, okay. Got it.
No, yeah.
You definitely agree. Okay.
Yeah,
So it
definitely.
does seem to be this time of year. Like no November, December, for whatever reason, there's something in the air. They just want to try new agencies. They want to talk to consultants. They want to kind of just get a second pair of eyes on their account. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons we could sit here and theorize about of why, but because of that, I think a lot of us, I know, Michael, your agency is growing. Obviously, I'm always looking at taking on new clients as well. So we are getting a lot of this, hey, send us a proposal. But usually with some of the best clients, they're also asking me, what are you looking for in a good client? Like, how can we make this a good fit for you? And that is already for me like, oh, I'm loving this already, right? You're being considerate. This is a two-way street. This is a business partnership. I am not just going to be a slave managing your account, right? So I would love to have this show just be focused around, what makes an ideal client for an agency. And for all you guys that are out there looking for agencies, I think you guys can take this and say, what should we be representing if it's truthful that we have to offer? Because honestly, if you're looking for a high quality agency, these are going to be some of the things that they're looking for and wanting to work with you. And these would also be signs if they're asking you about these things, they might be a good fit for you. What do you think, Michael?
Mate, sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful. Love it.
Okay. Is
So
there now,
just
because
to
this is
oh, sorry.
really, okay, go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say it's been an interesting time the last few weeks. Me for us personally, as in market lead, is a couple of clients left, which is a bummer. It's never not. But I'm getting 5 to 10 high quality leads per week just through the ether. Not doing any lead generation, not running any ads. It has just been crazy. And it's really interesting because before we had this chat just before, we both had the same idea because we're both experiencing it as well. Now, I've been speaking to some friends who are not experiencing it, but they're experiencing for people to come to you, they're not running advertising for the first time. They're most likely leaving somewhere else. So there's going to be people who are experiencing more of the leaving and then people experiencing more of the opening up the conversation. So I feel like my pendulum's on this side. I've still experienced a couple of clients drop off and that sucks, but I've had honestly, in the last month, 10x new leads of high quality businesses versus how many have left. So
Awesome.
it's an interesting side. It just depends on what side of the pendulum you're on, if you're just like losing all and getting no leads, or if you're getting more leads. And that's, this conversation could go in so many ways. And it could be about like how to get clients, or, the ways you communicate to them, and how all these things. So we'll keep it to the point of when you're getting, speaking to them, how do you make sure that they're the right fit, but also you're the right fit for them as well? I think that's really important, because the worst thing is you get new clients and you're not the right fit, and then you're wasting time, stress levels, energy levels, focus, you're worried about it, all that stuff, where it's like you could have just like not taken the client on, got another 3 clients that are way more aligned with you. You spend half the time anyway doing the work.
Absolutely. Now, you and I are both currently in a relationship, right? You've got a partner, I've got a partner. And, a lot of us PPC people, we bring some of the work home, right? Obviously, we respect NDAs and privacy and things, but, it can be a stressful job at times, right? And I don't know about you, Michael, but when I sign on a bad client, man, it is hard not to bring that stress with you through life. And to me, I feel like my partner at the time had said that, and my partner now currently says this too. It's like, those clients that are just energy suckers for you, that they bring you down, like they're just full of negative energy. And again, they don't know these businesses, they don't know what the business is, they don't know these clients personally, they don't know about them by name, of course, again, respecting all the privacies and things, but they just know that there is a client I'm super stressed about, and this client seems to be being brought up a lot, right? And it's like, so it's something to say that they all kind of agree. They've all agreed over the years that we're only talking 2 here, and I'm not that much of a bachelor every year or anything like that. But they all kind of agree that it's like a client, even no matter what they are willing to pay you, is not worth the money if they are going to just stress you out to that degree where they just have all these things. They showed some of those red flags in the very beginning. You ignored them because of how much they were going to pay you, and then over time it just drains your energy. And then what happens is I don't have as much energy to give to the clients that I love working with. And then that feels like it's another reason not to work for these people. Do you experience some of the same things?
Oh, mate, talking with you is just like, my mind just goes on different paths. So I'm going to just simply say yes. Now, can I just put in a few dot points that are going to open up many more conversations? Okay. Firstly, you and I, based on, because we met through the Solutions 8 podcast, because you were interviewed on there, as was I. We connected because we both thought each other were legit. We still don't know if we're legit. We are. But because of that, we've had a lot of people who've reached out to Corey and reached out to myself, and Corey might have done an audit and then I worked with them, or I did an audit and Corey worked with them. But we've had cross-pollination. And there are times when I've been added to an account that Corey's still in. He's like, bro, do not work on this. Because you already have done the vetting on those clients. You're like, it's going to be a nightmare. I'm like, I love you, man. Because the thing is, we're not like, with each other, we're not concerned about them, like the money, or like you get this client, I get this. Like, we've got enough money. It's fucking fine. Like, we want to make more, but it's fine. But the problem is, like, we'll be like, do not work with this client. They're going to be a nightmare. And we know that it's happened probably maybe 2 or 3 times already. And I feel like that road's going to just extend further and further, especially we're doing this podcast. So that's one thing. The other thing, as you were mentioning, going with partners and doing it objectively, is it's really hard. I've been saying this to a few friends. I was even saying to my dad a few weeks ago, is there's a few analogies. When you lose a client, it sucks. It just fucking sucks. Like, I'm not going to take that away. But then people go to you, everyone loses clients. I'm like, I get that. And we've got mates who run agencies and they lose clients, and it hits you. Now, it's like when you go through a breakup. It really hurts, but everyone else goes through breakups and it affects you as like, but just because everyone else does, and when your mates go through breakups, it's a very different experience. It's the same with bad clients. People go to you, everyone's got bad clients. Like, I get that, but it doesn't stop that everyone's got them, or most people have them, from affecting me. So that's it's one of those things that you can't bypass, Just because you know they're a bad client, it doesn't mean they don't affect you. Last thing
Absolutely.
to interrupt, well, not interrupting, we're having conversation here, is
Yeah.
I was reading this book called, somewhere on the bookshelf, called What's in It for Them, and it's by this guy called Joe
Mm.
Polish, runs this thing called Genius Network. He wrote this book more like an updated version of how to win friends and influence people, really focused on relationships and all this stuff. So rather than focusing on what can you get, it's what can you give, like more of a giving relationship. That's like my life. That's how I operate with clients, family, friends, relationship. But in there, he goes, there's a thing where you've got to call elf clients or like lame clients or half clients or something like that. So it's, you want to start like analyzing your clients. And this is going back to the point of, are they easy, lucrative, and fun? That's elf. Or are they a lame, annoying, frustrating, or LAFE, like lame, annoying, frustrating, and expensive, or something like that. And by doing this, you can actually audit those clients that are a nightmare pretty much from the start, going, will this client be easy to work with? Will they be lucrative? And will they be fun? They're really important things. Or will they be lame, annoying, frustrating, and whatever the other one is as well? So I wanted to put that in because that's a practical approach that when you're trying to audit these people or trying to see if this company will be a fit for you, there's going to be so many factors. Like, you just go, will we be able to get the results? Do we think they're going to pay enough money? But they're not good qualifications, because the thing that's going to make it a nightmare client is not the results. It's the actual person behind that screen. And you've got to figure out if that person is going to be turned into that 1 out of 20, 1 out of 50 clients that just like takes all the energy away. So
Absolutely.
there we go. Michael turns on mute now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're making a really great point, because I was a big fan of the 4 Hour Work Week way back when, and there was a big section on that of, those clients, those sort of nightmare clients we're talking about. They cost so much more than they're worth, and because again, the non-renewable resource that is time, you're never going to get that time back. If they're sending you daily emails for non-emergencies, you're never getting that time back. You're living in your inbox all of a sudden, and you're not doing the work that's actually going to get them the money in their bank accounts that they're paying you for. It's those kind of things you got to be really careful of. And so you account manager out there or agencies that are looking to increase the quality of the clients you sign on, that's something I'm usually going to call out right away, is like, here is what makes a nightmare client for us. And that might seem brash to some, but that's my approach, because I'd just be honest and transparent with them and say, look, I'm not assuming that you are doing this. This is coming from a not a judgmental place, but here, I've done this so long. Here is what this looks like. And I leave that up to them. If they check any of those boxes, well, that's on them to say that, yeah, we're not this, and then they maybe will be. And again, they've agreed to it to some degree, or they say, well, we're a lot of these things. We probably need to work on this stuff before we work with him. And I would be happy with that, because again, I'm not just in this for the money. I like the relationships. I like the partnerships. I like to build these relationships over time, and I really like to make a difference in their lives. Just, obviously the business part of their lives affects their personal lives, and being able to feed their kids and buy a new home for the bigger family, whatever it is, that actually matters to me. Like, it really does. So if I'm spending all day in my inbox for non-emergencies, if the client is telling me how we should be what strategy we should be using, what campaign types we should be using in the account, now I'm all for debate and discussion, of course. Again, this is a business partnership, but if they are telling me what the strategy needs to be, I can't be held responsible for the results, because that's not my strategy. That's not the campaigns that I would have built. Again, so that's a reality, I think. Is there any other like major, that's not all of them, but is there any that come to mind for you of sort of red flags when you're looking for or trying to look out for nightmare clients?
That was beautiful, mate. That was a really good synopsis. I think the challenge is a lot of people who might be listening to this would be people start at the beginning of their journey. So they just need to, they're in more survival mode. So it's like, just get any client so they've got the cash flow. Just in life in general, there's just different stages. And when you're at a different stage, you get to have the opportunity to make a different decision. So like where you and I are at now, we can say no more than we can say yes, because that is important. So it's more that it depends on what level of where you are on the journey. and as you said, like, I think no matter where you are on your journey, if you're a beginner and you're getting those emails every day, that's actually good because you get the learning experience of going,
True.
what's the theme about clients who keep doing this? Is it me? There's something that I need to change in my product service offering, or is it them that I'm just attracting really bad people? So it's more that you can do either an introspective thing or like external and try to see patterns. But yeah, there's just so many ways you can look at it. Are they hitting us up every day about just meaningless stuff? Are they overreacting to stuff? Do they blow up over crazy stuff like nothing, or like over
Catastrophizing?
Yeah, exactly. Here's some cognitive behavioral therapy. And then looking at like if the results are down temporarily for, I don't know, a week and they start freaking out versus like, but we look at the data on a 14, 21, 30-day average because there will be like, just depending on how they observe it, their communication styles, do they like just not get back as well? That's another red flag. Clients who just never get back. And I'm like, I get you pay your invoice, but like the business isn't going to move forward. What are some of the other things that are usually red flag? It's hard to predict these things beforehand. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it's just, you've got to really have your own experience from a lot of average clients or just average people in life and just use your intuition to start being like, am I picking up some sort of things? Because it's really hard to have a checklist.
Yeah.
Like, I just, once again, go, do they seem like they'll be easy to work with? Do they seem like they'll be a lucrative client? Do they seem like they'll be fun? And that's one thing. And then I'm like, do they seem like they'll be hard? Do they seem like they'll be annoying? Do they seem like they'll be lame? That's something that Jack who works with me, we were talking about, like, just lame clients. It's like, you can do all the good stuff, but if they're just lame, it's like, it just sucks just like the life force or the juice out of it. And
how do you define lame for you guys?
I don't know, man, because it's like, we've got a lot of clients who have boring businesses, aka just businesses that you have made. I've made them millions of dollars. They've made me good money. But it's not something that would be like how I made fucking this much money with this industry. And I'm like on YouTube. It's like they're very boring businesses. But there's boring businesses where it's just like they just offer a product or service that's just like not sexy. But then there's lame where it's kind of like the people are lame, the communication's lame. It's just like they just feel like they're just like
like tonally flat. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, they're just more like if they were a flavor, their flavor would be just like a plain piece of bread. It's just like neutral. It's not bad.
Plain
it's
candy.
It's not good. It's just flat and it's just kind of like mundane. It's like beige. It's just so. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, man. But there are just so many. I think the challenge is there's no checklist for any area of life, for business, for Google Ads. But there's just you've got to have your own experiences and just kind of calibrate. Some people love like clients that they're just like bang, bang, bang every day, like going back and forth. Like I've got mates who love that shit. Then I've got people who are like, I love clients who don't speak to us for like 2 months. I'm in the middle where I'm like, I want to be chatting to them like, every week or 2 weeks, at like maximum having like a call a month. Minimum.
Yeah, everybody's different.
And it's just about calibrating towards what you're good at and what working style works for you and what works for them as well. Because it is a relationship at the end of the day. It's not a transaction. Yeah. I'm not buying a cup that I buy this thing once, or a house or a car where it's a one transaction so you don't care. We're in a relationship like we are with our partners where it's like every day, every week, every month, and you want the relationship to grow, and you just got to make sure that that person is aligned with your values as well. So I'll just once again mute myself because I can easily get on a rant page about my thoughts.
Yeah, guys, this is like really perfect episode for our podcast, I think, because Unfiltered, this is something that amongst agency owners and just marketers in general, we talk about this stuff all the time. Like if you go to PPC Reddit, you're going to see huge comment, like large posts and several comments about these kind of things of like, how do I, what do I do with this client? Like they're calling me, they're texting me like every 20 minutes and, why are clicks down last hour? It's just like, oh my goodness, like there's definitely a lot of this. But to be fair, if you're newer at this, or maybe you've just only had agencies that couldn't really educate you properly over the years, to be fair to those clients that like I just would say sometimes it does take some education, right? Like sometimes clients just don't know about like conversion lag delay, right? Like they don't understand that all conversions are not being reported in real time. No one's told them that. So they're looking at their performance every single day and they look at yesterday and go, oh, everything's down. And if they were to just give it another 24 hours, it actually was better than the day before and things aren't down. Like sometimes it just takes a little bit of education, I think, on the part of the agency. And I think as agency owners or marketers, we have to take accountability for that education sometimes. Like if we have decided to partner with this business and exchange funds for our service offerings, we also need to hold some accountability and some responsibility for educating the client. If we're finding that they don't know those kind of things, if they're scanning the change history every day as a way of judging whether we're doing our job or whatever, rather than going off of performance, these are things that are fixable. We can educate them. Now, also, to be fair back to agencies and marketers, sometimes you do those educations and it goes one ear and out the other. And they just don't care and they say like, why was last week there's nothing in the change history? It's like, well, because I was working in Excel the entire week for 14 hours and you're not going to see that in the change history. And we found through the 14-hour analysis there was no changes that should have been made for another 2 weeks. But again, you wouldn't know that if you're not educated over time. So, I do think that there does need to be some grace for some clients that just don't really know any better. But if you've told them and you've told them and you've told them and they continue to make the same problems, well, that's not on you anymore. And that's sort of just another nightmare client situation. So any other thoughts or anything else you wanted to add as far as things that you look out for?
Yeah, even just you mentioning that, it's interesting that you say about educating clients, because as soon as you said that, that's exactly what I was thinking as well. And it's in life, it's just so easy to naturally default to blaming other people and do that. With my life, like I just try to radically like own and take responsibility for everything to the point where I'm like gaslighting myself. But even in market lead with Jack, I'm like, dude, like it's always on us. Not to be hard on him or myself, but it's just like if you leave the responsibility off to someone else, at the end of the day, you're at the reaction of them. You want to be proactive. So with the education, when you are scouting the client, you just ask questions. If you want the answer, all you got to do is ask the question. So I'll ask clients being like, have you run advertising like this before? Have you run it yourself before? How much do you know about it? And it's very interesting. A lot of people go, I don't know. And then when you're managing that client, you're doing a very like generic 30,000 foot view. Like we're just going after these keywords to get some clicks to this page and then we'll try and get some leads. That's one. But then if they're like, look, I've been doing Google Ads for 10 years. I've been running the account, but just like I'm running the business. I'm all across it. And then for that person, when you're making changes, you got to be like, hey man, I've made this change because of this. And because of that, we're going to give it 14 to 21 days to execute the results. That type of person who's been running the account themselves, they're going to want to know exactly what's happened, why it's happened, and then a timeline. But different clients, depending on where they're at or what they need from you, will require different communication. That communication, right, once again, education or responsibility on yourself, will then dictate the relationship. A lot of the times, we've had clients come to us where people have gone, they're hard to work with. Even the client's been like, we're hard to work with. Within 1 week, don't hear from them. Because what I've done is, and this is just because I reflect aggressively on this, and every single client, everything I do is I go, okay, this client, they've mentioned that they're going to be like this. So what we're going to do is load them up. But it's not load them up with a long email. It's like give them dot points in an email with a Loom video and then saying like, look, this is what we've done. Let's show you some of the analysis we've done. In 21 days, we're going to do this. And because we know what we're doing, we get results. So then when we get the results and we've explained it to them, they just go, these people know what they're doing. Because as soon as people pay you, you've got to shorten the time of believability between what you've said you're going to do and what you actually achieve for them. And the closer that timeline you do that, the closer they just like believe you and then they just vanish. And I've had so many clients that I thought were going to be nightmares that within like a week, never hear from them. And I'm hitting them up and they're just like, yeah, we're busy in our business. So they've gone from potentially a huge risk red flag client to never hear them, green flag dream client very fast, because we're on top of, we figured out where they were as a client, what type of like communication they needed, actually communicated, extremely proactive, And the last thing is to always turn a nightmare client to a dream client. Nightmare clients are reactive, dream clients are not. But the only way you stop clients from being reactive is you've got to be proactive. You've got to get ahead of them. You've got to pick up things when they drop down. Just send them an email. Hey, we've noticed it's dropped down this week. Just want to let you know we're on top of it. We've done these things. If you've got any insights, please let us know. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
But so many people don't want to do that. So that's
I think
my
it,
little...
yeah, it,
Go on.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's really interesting on because you're talking about like why something is being done. And I think that's a really good point because I mentioned that in my sort of introductory proposal is there is definitely a time and a place, to your point, where discussing why something was done has its place. So it's like, here's what we did. Here's what I did. Here's why I did it. Right. I did it because I think I found this, and I think by doing X, we're going to get Y. Right. That makes a lot of sense. And I think there's another side of this where there is a point where a client can just focus exclusively on why things are happening. And that seems to be like one of their sole focuses. That to me is a clarification on of a red flag for a client. So I think there is sort of a delineation here. I think when a client is focusing mostly on why things are being done, that's a trust issue. And that's going to be really tough for you to break through. That's maybe not going to be an educational thing. It's just I hate to get personal, it might be a personality thing. Whereas there is definitely still, though, on the other side, a place for explaining why something is happening. But I don't like agencies or freelancers or something getting into this rhythm of like always explaining what they're doing and why they're doing it. I feel like that gets a little unhealthy, and over time it creates this sort of toxic relationship where you're having to be like, hey, can I up the budget 10%? It's like, I mean, maybe if this is a very large campaign, that's one thing. But if you are begging for making changes and like getting permission for every little thing you're doing, I don't see that being very successful unless we're talking about a very large account where a 10% increase or something is substantial and their budgets are very restrictive in that way. And that's all a part of something you've worked out contractually or something otherwise. Does that kind of sound right, Michael?
Yeah. The challenge of the reason why is if you're proactive about it, it's great. If you're doing it reactively, that's not good. You've always got to be ahead of the client. And this is where we're talking about like red flag clients, how to identify them beforehand. Sometimes you just can't. But you can tell them when they're a red flag when they've started, and you can do something about it. And if you can't, then you do drop them. But one thing is, and I'll quickly put this at the end of this call so people hear this, and if they do, they've actually got the juice. If you want to do your reporting, if you're doing verbal reporting on a call, written reporting, Loom recordings, however you do it, this will be the easiest way you can give clients confidence. You can write reports if you can't write, like if you need to write a report, if you're an internal, is tell them the results or what you're doing. Tell them against what benchmark you're doing it for. Like, hey, we're going to do X to increase the conversion rate. Because, like something like the conversion rate at the moment is 7.5%. Your industry average is 10%. What we are going to do is X because we know from past experience that pushes up the conversion rate, which means that you can get an additional Y results in the next 20 days. And by doing that, doing what, why against benchmarks, against your previous experience with other clients in the same industry, you've hit everything off pretty much saying that like, we're doing something, and you don't have to always explain what you're doing, but you got to tell people if you're doing stuff, just tell them, because if they don't know, they don't know. And then sometimes that's where they doubt you. But if you just tell them what you're doing, the reason why you're doing it, against what benchmarks that you're using, if it's an industry benchmark or an internal benchmark, the expected results you could get for it, and then what time frame you're going to be checking it, you will never, ever, ever, ever get clients questioning you again. I never, ever get clients questioning my work. Ever. Like, ever. And they're the crazy thing. Even when the results are not good, they don't question it, because when you show all those things, you're showing way more initiative than they ever could. So even when the results are not good, they're not going to go, well, why don't we do this thing? Because you've already explained very thoroughly a plan and an action plan that will get you there. So once again, a red flag client will turn into a green flag client, because then they know you're on the same side and the same team, rather than you versus them. It's you and them together. So I'll leave it there, mate.
Yeah,
that's just been something that's really helped me out, and I wish I could share it with everyone, but it's a competitive
That's
industry.
fantastic. Yeah, I love that. That's really good. I think to add to expectations for agency owners and marketers too, setting expectations is obviously really important, and everybody's talked about this before. But I'll just add that um, to help avoid a nightmare client situation, be very, 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 very clear on what your service offerings entail, right?
Mm.
So if you only do Google Ads, say you only do Google Ads and specify if you need to what that means, because not everybody thinks of it the same way. They might hire you for SEO and you only do Google Ads, and they didn't realize you're not going to write blog content for them. You're not going to do, whatever. There are a bunch of SEO things that could be done. But just be really clear about that. I think it's really important. And I've learned that lesson the hard way over the years, because what you don't want is for them to pay you, you're a month or two in, or maybe a week in, and then they're like, hey, can you just check out my Facebook remarketing campaign? You're like, I don't offer Facebook,
Yeah.
Or they think like, hey, can you fix this? Can you set up these micro conversions? Maybe your agency just doesn't do that because it's outside your wheelhouse. You don't offer web development. Well, then, okay, then have a partner in the industry that will do that for you or for them. But just be super clear. Like I literally spell out, I do not do this, 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 and this. I just say that because I would rather be in writing in an email somewhere, so I can say like, remember when we said you needed a landing page, but I don't create landing pages? Well, like you want that, but I told you I don't offer that. Just wanted to remind you I don't offer that. You know what I mean? Because I'd rather it not be awkward down the way. So I think that's really important just to throw out there too for agencies and marketers.
And that's more prevalent when you're actually doing a really good job, because most businesses work with low quality suppliers. And I know that because I've had a few business dealings with multiple businesses personally that I've had to buy off recently, and the client customer experience was horrible. And I'm like, I'll just say, what the fuck is going on here? Because I have such a high expectation on how I serve clients that that's just become my default, that when I'm getting like a horrible serve, I'm like, what the hell is going on? And when you are competent at stuff, people will start coming to you with more problems that they want you to solve. Every single client we work with always comes to me asking me for advice on stuff I have no idea about, when they've already got someone paying for it, or someone who's actually being hired internally for it. Because when you're competent at what you're doing and you communicate well, people will magnetize towards you. It is a blessing because you can, expand your services or you can upsell, but it's a curse because then if you really do love your clients, which we do, you feel like you can't just like go, I don't know. You do want to create that solution for them. So that's really important. Get the expectation clear on what the services are, because even if you offer an additional service, scope creep happens, and then you're offering a service temporarily for free, giving free consulting. It's taking hours. I'm not being paid for this, and this isn't
exactly.
So.
Yeah,
Corey,
like those emails of like,
sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say like those emails you'll get where it's like, hey, I started a new business. Like I know we're not paying you for this, but like, could you maybe just like take a quick look at the account and see what you think? Like those kind of things. You're like, whoa, hold on a second. Like it's a whole new account, a whole new strategy, a whole new industry. So also throw that out there. And then for changes, clients out there. Yeah, I understand, especially again, we're coming off Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Last minute changes are kind of expected in the industry, but please, for the love of whoever, give your agencies time to do things. Like you might be the most important client, but you might not be, and just be considerate, honestly, of their time. I know this is tough because it's your business, you're stressed, the results are the results. But if you need a brand new search campaign built out and you want it to be, $150 and spend a day, and the cost per clicks are maybe going to be $1, like that's probably going to be a decently sized build out that's going to take time to build. Don't expect them to do that tomorrow, today, or maybe even next week. Like you've got to really be careful about not just like aggressively expecting that the agency is going to just be sitting in their inbox waiting for your email and just hitting refresh. Like they're not. Like they're working on other accounts. So just have some grace with the agencies. Most agencies ask for like 1 to 2 weeks for implementing things. I would say that's a reasonable timeline for most things. Maybe it's something we can jump in and just, change, or if it's an emergency like a disapproval, obviously that's a little bit different, but do be, cognizant that agencies have many other clients in most cases. And even if they don't, just, they're a human being. They have other things in life going on. So be
Rather
nice.
than a last minute search campaign or changing the assets in a PMAX campaign. Yeah, that's the challenge here is, and mate, we've got to wrap up this call in one moment because we've got to do another one. But that is ultimately what happens is people forget that agencies have other clients. That you'll always be treated with respect with our clients. You've got to give us 5 days notice of a new campaign change or going live. I'm not. This is on record, so I'll be crucified for it. But most of the time, I'll get it set up in a day because I know what I'm doing. Things that usually take people hours to do, I can do in 15 minutes. It's not that I'm doing a half-assed job. It's just I've done this so long and I know not what to waste time on that you can execute it. Most clients will never require. And maybe that's just even client management is we don't get clients doing that to us. And if they do, they'll be apologetic and we'll get it done anyway. And then it looks like you're going above and beyond. But if you've got a client who keeps doing that, that's a red flag. That's the red flag. If they keep doing last minute things, if it's like a Friday afternoon, or there's a certain industry where it's like, yeah, but our industry operates like this. And it's like, yeah, but my business doesn't. So you've got to clearly communicate that if they do that, there's got to be consequences, or just like an expectation that it may not be done. And just because it's important to you doesn't mean it has to be the most important thing for us as well. So, but Corey, I'm going to wrap this up because I know we could keep chatting about this one. So Corey, this has been an awesome conversation. We've been chatting, I reckon, about 35 minutes about this, and we could have kept going. So I feel like this is another one that we can open up on in the future, just because as we keep experiencing these things, new insights come through. And the PPC Unfiltered podcast is purely about our unfiltered experience with advertising and clients and just giving away those insights, which never end. So, Corey, please let people know where they can find you.
Check me out on LinkedIn or YouTube.
Awesome. And I'm on LinkedIn, Michael Nadalin, YouTube, marketlead.com.au. Sorry, MarketLead on YouTube. And then my website is marketlead.com.au. So, Corey, awesome chat. And we're going to jump into our next one now.
All right. Bye, everybody.